Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Department podcast, where myself, Stephen Clark, and my buddy here, Justin Valentovic, are here to break down and review NXT Takeover in Your House 2021. It was a good night of in-ring action, which also accompanied a very, very lackluster crowd there in the cruise or whatever, the CWC. Very good night of action. Crowd, you guys sucked last night. We're recording this on Monday, June 14th, so we know nothing about NXT on Tuesday whenever this gets uploaded. But before we get into breaking down the whole card of NXT Takeover, Justin, how you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be back. Took predictions off just because, some family stuff got in the way, so that's that. But we're getting things squared away over here in the Valentovic household.
Oh, baby.
But like you said, the crowd sucked and quite
Killed it.
Let's kind of use that as a jumping off point because really up until the ladder match, it was kind of hard to tell that there was even a crowd to begin with because Mercedes Martinez, it was dead. The opening match, which was MSK and Bronson Reed versus Legado del Fantasma, I believe, right? Yeah.
Correct.
That match should have gotten them going right then and there because
Hyped.
that match was good between all of them, and yet it was just dead silence. I remember I texted you right when the main event started and they were actually cheering. I was like, oh shit, there's a crowd here.
There they are. It ruined the show
and they expanded
much.
The crowd. They added the upper deck sort of for the performance center.
Yeah, they said every half hour, the biggest crowd in the CWC history. I'm like, okay, cool. You can't hear them.
Congrats, you're in a glorified gymnasium.
Yeah. Even before the show started, I saw on TikTok or somewhere on social media that Triple H and Shawn Michaels came out
to hype him up.
And it still didn't work. I don't know if they felt uncomfortable.
There were a lot of Floridians wearing masks, so maybe that's what upset them. Muffled their cheers. No, but it was just it
killed it. It killed the show
did.
Almost.
And it's amazing how Thunderdome goes through pay-per-views, and it's not awful. Because. Yeah, they pipe in sound and everything, but I'm surprised they just didn't have any stock sound that they used for that on standby just in case.
They did a couple of times because I remember they were chanting NXT, then all of a sudden the piped in sound was chanting "This is awesome," and I'm like, huh? that doesn't line up. They tried, but then I guess they figured, you know what, just let it roll, whatever.
They haven't thought of seen a crowd this dead in a while,
especially for a card that was pretty good.
Awesome, that was pretty good.
In a takeover too. Takeover crowds are usually top notch. I think I'm going back to your point that Floridians were forced to keep the masks on. They weren't happy. It's muffled through the masks as it is, and it isn't.
It's not.
I don't know. It honestly, as good as the show was, it killed it so much because of the crowd. But
it just shows how important crowds are to wrestling, at least for getting the energy up and getting things going.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Double or Nothing a couple of weeks ago, but that crowd was insane at Daly's Place for AEW. It was literally rocking. I know probably they had maybe double the amount of people that TakeOver had, a little bit more even than that, and it was outside and you have to wear a mask, but it was rocking and it just put the show to shame. But let's get into the card, just reviewing some of the stuff and talking about what happened at the very, very end of the show with General Manager William Regal, but we'll save that for the end. But let's start with the first match of the night. Like you said, it was the 6-man tag team match. It was the champions, Bronson Reed and MSK defending their belts against Legado del Fantasma. And it was a fantastic match. It was honestly a fantastic match.
MSK can fly around and so can Bronson Reed, so that was a nice little tag team. I know I picked MSK and Reed to win, but it would have been really cool and good for Legado del Fantasma to have belts outside of the cruiserweight belt, because then at least they could have broken away from just being cruiserweight wrestlers. And I think this match kind of proves that, cruiserweights should be allowed to interact with other people, because even though MSK, they are on the smaller side and they could be considered cruiserweights, they flew around with big, beefy Bronson Reed, who, can move around and jump off the top rope for the most part like a smaller person. So I would like to see more things for them with other people outside the cruiserweights. And it would have been better for them to have the belts, but also at the same time, MSK did just kind of freshly win them and they do want to establish them. So they should probably hold the belts for a little bit longer. But no, I enjoyed it. And once again, this match was really good for an opener and probably set the tone for the show, but the crowd killed it.
Yeah, I was the only idiot in the predictions that picked Legato to win, because I was thinking the same thing that you basically just said. It would have been cool to see them take that jump from the cruiserweights to like the actual like superstars in NXT, like North American and world champion and whatnot. But I enjoyed it. I love how they're building up Bronson Reed. I wouldn't be surprised if Bronson gets that call up sooner than later, just because they're lacking like a big man like that ever since Braun got fired.
I mean, they have one, but they're not using him.
Who?
Keith Lee.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's personal situations or company.
I don't think it was injury.
He had COVID. I know he had.
Yeah, because him and Mia Yim kind of went out around the same time.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's still dealing with complications from that, or maybe complications in his family with the virus, or they just don't know what to do with him. It could be too, but I don't want to speculate, especially when we don't know anything with that. But yeah, you're right. They have Keith Lee. Then they have Omos and they have Commander Aziz, and that's about it. Who's big guys on the main roster? So that was my thought going into the predictions too, thinking Bronson might get the push. MSK, can always regain the titles in another month or two. But no, the spots were fantastic. They can, like you said, they can all fly around. Bronson putting Santos through the wall was,
oh my god, he absolutely floored him.
It was brutal. They had
Santos holding the North American belt. I don't know what he said, but I assume like he was going to win the belt or something, like this is his or something. And then just turn around and boom, straight through. And that was early. Once again, that was an early spot to do early in the show of blow someone right through a fenced in, barricade and then just dead air.
Exactly. Exactly.
What do you think? I froze for a second?
No. I was doing the same thing as you. You got to keep it quiet like they were in the CWC last night. No, it was a good spot, and throughout the night they had it like taped up too. I saw.
Yeah. They always do a great job in kind of like covering up when something gets broken. It's not like WWE where if like a table gets broken in one match, it's magically put together another one. So at least they'll acknowledge like, oh, we broke shit, so let's keep it broken for at least continuity
at least for another 2 hours. You can fix it right after when the show's over. But no, great match. Nothing else to complain about here.
I could see a rematch at Bash.
Yeah, Bash is coming up on
maybe not a winner take all type of scenario, but maybe the two cronies versus MSK for the belt, and then maybe Santos separate with Bronson Reed, and maybe he gets the belt, only the North American belt, something like that.
Yeah, I think I said this on the previous podcast, but I would have loved this match to be a ladder match with all three belts hanging above the ring. I know you already had a ladder match on the show already, and it's hard to $1
million didn't necessarily need to be a ladder match, but it was cool that it was.
We'll get to that in a little bit from now. But now at the end of the day, MSK retains, Bronson Reed retains. It was a really, really good match. All right, let's continue. Another actually. I'm going to say it. I wasn't, when I said this on the predictions podcast, I was like, this next match did not need to be on the Takeover card. It
should have been the preview show that they just started at 7:30 when they said they were going to start at 7:30, and they kind of blue balled all of us.
Yeah. Like this next match was literally, it could have been on a normal Tuesday night, but it was actually good as well because they added the storyline of how Mercedes Martinez embarrassed Xia Li in the Mae Young Classic about like 4 or 5 years ago.
Long-term booking, am I right? No, it just worked out that they stepped in it basically, and that they had that on file to go off of. But hey, any motivation is good motivation. And Xia Li, I texted you once again. This is a very Mortal Kombat feeling gimmick at this point as the time goes on and on. You got the dude who looks like Johnny Cage. He looks like a fighter, and then you got the evil wizard thing behind them. That
Mei Ying, I think
they finally did something after the match.
And yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about during the match. It was a good match. Average, it was good.
You had two good workers put on a good match.
There you go. But what happened at the end is what we should talk about more, and that's Mei Ying finally rising from her seat and confronting Mercedes Martinez, and the way she slammed Mercedes into like the cage wall. It looks like they're going with she has like superpowers. It really
because at first it looked like she was just gonna like choke her out, and then like she kind of passes out, or maybe like a little bit of like choke something, because they have makeup on the hand that kind of looks like talons and claws and whatnot. Like it's it's that discolorated like light blue whitish type of skin tone, and so they're making it look obviously like a monster, and to literally just pick up and throw Mercedes Martinez, who looked like she had about a few inches on her too.
Oh yeah. Mae Young's not the biggest. But no, I thought that was an awesome highlight. You finally see this faction of Zaya, Boa, and Mei Ying finally coming together. And honestly, I wouldn't
wonder
be
if we'll start
surprised.
seeing them in the ring more.
I 100% think so. Definitely. I think like Mei Ying's gonna play that Paul Bearer role. Like she controls. She's like gonna give off her powers to Boa and Zaya, maybe, and maybe I don't know. You see her. I think she's kind of old too. I really don't know much about Mei Ying. I'll look her up a little bit right now.
I'm trying to find something. Like just to get an idea, because the makeup is so heavy, you can't really.
You can't really even see her face.
No,
and I can't even like find stuff.
Oh, she looks young in the pictures that popped up.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. Oh yeah, she's young. She's probably around Zaya's age.
Wow, you can't even tell that. They do a good job with the makeup and all that. But no, it was cool to finally see her do something. Takeover is a great stage to do it. Might have superpowers, might not. We'll see what happens with the future with that.
Let's have another supernatural character while we're at it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean the first one. I mean the one we just had recently. The Fiend working out too hot.
Alexa is also technically, I guess.
Alexa basically stole the Fiend's gimmick.
He went bye-bye.
Then he's nowhere to be seen.
He hasn't been seen since Mania, right?
Yeah, I heard speculation on that too. I don't want to like confirm this stuff, but apparently he's still dealing with Luke Harper's death really badly.
Gotcha.
What I heard.
Didn't take all the time he needs.
So they just did the one quick WrestleMania
get
match,
it over with,
lost it, and then that's what I heard
to bookend it, and then figure it out after that.
There's no timetable for grieving. Take as long as you want, but that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. And let's get into, honestly, I'm going to say this right now. My match of the night. I loved the main event so much, but I really just enjoyed the character work and just what was at stake here and just the talent involved and just everything involved with this match. I loved it so much. And I'm talking about LA Knight defeating Cameron Grimes for the $1 Million Championship in the ladder match to take on the legacy of Ted DiBiase. This match just exceeded my expectations. I think more than anything, it was funny. I'd never seen LA Knight and or Eli Drake wrestle to this capability before, so that impressed me the most.
For me, the only thing I really knew about Eli Drake was that he had Scott Steiner as a tag team partner one time. That wasn't the extent of what I knew of him, basically.
Like, Eli Drake was very always EC3-ish to me. Like,
yes,
great on the mic, great personality, great charisma, but
average ring.
Very average in ring, I agree. And Cameron Grimes, we've known from his days as Trevor Lee, and when he came to NXT, Cameron Grimes, this whole new gimmick, entertaining and is very good in the ring. And they just put on a show. I thought this was very, very, very.
I'm kind of glad to have the $1 Million belt back too. Just it adds something to at least NXT to make it creative because, I don't know how long DiBiase is going to stick around for. Maybe kind of be like a mentor to him and. Maybe they change LA Knight's names a little bit because it's so stupid. Maybe they actually remember whatever LA stands for. They can kind of make that his name because
Los Angeles Knight.
No, I understand that, but he's from Baltimore. Actually, I think he's from Maryland. Go O's.
B.A. Knight.
Nah, but I liked how they put it. I liked how they put it in like a glass case rather than like hang it off the. Things
it's prestigious. It's $1 million. Well,
exactly. You gotta take care of it. I like how DiBiase came out with like armored, like
so funny
guards at least for it. So that was kind of cool. But I like how they used the gold ladder to get it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And Grimes took a nice bump off the ladder onto the entranceway of the ladder set up. Like he bounced off. I'm kind of. It would have been funny with Grimes to have the belt, kind of like him running around with it, but. LA Knight, I think, would kind of embody more of what DiBiase would do with the $1 Million belt. I would like to see, though, Grimes get it eventually, and him just kind of run around with it.
I think Grimes does beat him for the belt, and then I think Ted DiBiase then takes the belt back or something, or buys it off of Grimes, and then that's when the belt goes away. It'll just be here for a couple months, if that. I think.
Yeah, it might be just like a summer thing or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mainstay, but I want to bring up a point that we had during our text conversations about all the spots we were talking about, and you talked about the scaffolding.
The lighting rig, basically.
Yes, and basically that was never used before, and you were kind of amazed.
I was excited. I was glad they finally used it. It was very TNA Ultimate X Match feeling, where they would climb up and just throw themselves off the scaffolding, and the fact that Grimes is the one that jumped off of it first.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny, and I'm glad they finally used it.
Yeah, they used it, and like you said, good spots. Grimes going from the ladder outside the ring to that ladder and everything, and just it was fun. I just really, really enjoyed this, and like at the end of the day, LA Knight's champ, and I'm excited to see him in this role, kind of that was made for Cameron Grimes at first, and just taken over by LA Knight. So I'm excited.
It's a nice little side feud. Like, it's nothing too serious. They can really have fun with it too, with the $1 million belt, because it's a joke belt to begin with when you think about it.
It is.
So maybe we kind of see him come out with more in like suits or more kind of like riches and women and stuff around him to make it kind of embody it a little bit more and play into it. And that's how it could really make it entertaining.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's continue to our last two matches of the night. Raquel Gonzalez defeated Ember Moon, which we all kind of expected.
We kind of had a feeling, because they're trying to build up Raquel as like the NXT unstoppable force, big muscly champion, even though they already have one on the men's side. But, I'm glad Ember Moon got a title shot, since she was out for what felt like 2 years, I think. But we all knew Raquel was going to win to begin with, because they are trying to strap a rocket to her, and not to quote Grimes, but send her to the moon at this point, just because, she's a draw.
Yeah, there's not much to touch on this match except for Shotzi came back after.
Yeah, that feud's not going to end. Like, between those four, like, hold it over till Bash, hold it over till whatever the SummerSlam takeover is. Maybe have Shotzi get a title shot, and then something like that.
Exactly. Shotzi's not going to win it off her. I don't know who's going to win it off.
If she does, that'd be awesome, because Shotzi kind of put her name on the map with Halloween Havoc. So I wouldn't be surprised if she does get a title shot somewhere down the line.
At Halloween Havoc, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I didn't even think about that coming full circle. But at this point, the only one I could see potentially eventually taking off the title is Xia Li.
Just because they're making her as the unstoppable force based through magic rather than strength and realism.
Exactly. With So, but otherwise, match was all right. It was cool. Raquel pulled out a couple different moves, so that was cool to see. She's improving by the month. It was fine. I agree with what you said with Ember too. It was great to see Ember get a title shot, and just another stepping stone, another big stepping stone for Raquel, beating a formidable opponent, which did a great job in building her up so far.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tag match at Bash though, between Dakota and Raquel versus Shotzi, and
probably
and
maybe then they lose Raquel and Dakota, and
as you call them, Cosmo and Wanda.
They are Cosmo and Wanda.
I mean, Raquel was wearing purple, so was she poof?
That's a big poof. That's a big poof. But it could be
before the podcast started.
That's funny. But maybe Dakota and Raquel split too. They don't really need to keep them together anymore. I mean, get Dakota a title match. Tegan Nox can always come back from her knee exploding 5 times. But hey, it was fine. I'm okay with building up Raquel as dominant champ.
I mean, every champion just needs to have not an easy win, but they need to have a few wins to legitimize their title reign.
Yeah, no, you're right. And let's just jump into the main event, nice and quick.
Let's do it.
You love this match.
I love this very good match. It delivered.
It delivered. It was Cross, defending against 4 other guys in the Fatal 5-Way, and he absolutely won. He won at the end of the day. He won, and he stayed undefeated too. That's another thing to mark down. Cross has never lost a match yet, and this is his biggest test, obviously, in a Fatal 5-Way against 4. They're like the Mount Rushmore almost of NXT in that match. And he
the
won.
only one missing was Finn for the most part,
and he didn't show up at all. But
you thought the Demon was coming out afterwards. It would have made sense, but
I know I called the Fernando Tatis Grand Slam. I thought I was going 2 for 2 predicting stuff yesterday, but no Finn Balor, no sign of Finn Balor. But let's get into the action of the match. It was just very fast paced.
Yeah,
and very
once it got going, it was just high spot. Multiple people doing, double team moves, people getting thrown into things, people getting thrown through doors, onto tables. Cross took a lot of the major bumps too.
Oh yeah, a lot of them. It's going through the doors, going in like I think he went
Under
on
the
the
table.
table too.
Didn't
Yeah,
break.
that was just a lot of bumps. Pete Dunne doing the moonsault into the double super kick by Colin.
When you think about, like,
Gargano.
everyone got an insane amount of offense in, I was kind of thinking about it too. I feel like Pete Dunne got the least impactful offense out of everybody.
Yeah, because Pete doesn't really do like big maneuvers to begin
That's the
with.
thing. He's kind of like he got his typical the finger breaking on Cross, and I think maybe Cole. But my God, there were a lot of super kicks in this match.
Yeah, that's like the mantra of
all of them. They all do kicks.
Yeah, basically, in some way or another, they all do. Yeah. But it was great. It was just a really all around good match. A lot of close falls and close finishes.
Well, that's what NXT is best at, is building up a lot of high action, quick, and then just having people kick out frequently. And some people hate it, some people love it. I think is what makes their matches compelling at that point, because at any point it could be over.
Yeah.
And for it to come down to a slow ending like for a finish rather than a quick, everyone takes each other out and someone gets a pin, it ended in a slow submission where Kyle O'Reilly was trying to have Cole tap out, and then, he was just a sitting duck there when Cross came flying in, and eventually he passed out, and that's how he won.
Yeah. I want to talk about that a little bit. And yeah, like you said, O'Reilly had Cole in the heel hook, then Cross comes in to put the sleeper on O'Reilly, and match ended. Was O'Reilly the right person to have to lose this match? I think
I feel like Dunn could have eaten it, or Cole could have eaten it.
I think anybody but O'Reilly should have.
Because it seems like they're trying to build O'Reilly almost like the next Gargano type.
Exactly. No, I agree. I think anybody should have taken that knockout or whatever you want to call it, except for O'Reilly. I think that was just a bad booking move on their part.
But I mean, I don't really think it's going to hurt O'Reilly long term either, because Cross is such an insane monster. It's not like if he lost to Adam Cole, and Cole walked away with the belt, that would have been a lot more damaging, because it's like, well, he can't get past Adam Cole now.
Yeah.
And vice versa at that point. But actually, him tapping out Cole would have been a lot more impactful. But
crazy.
We all knew Cross was going to win.
Yeah. No, we did, and and as we're seeing right now, we don't know where we're going from here with Cross. He literally beat all the main eventers of NXT in one match, and the other main eventer he beat in the takeover before, which was Finn Balor. So
I think by the end of the 2021 calendar of WWE, he's going to be on the main roster.
I think so too.
I could see him debuting in the Rumble and then, staying on a show.
Yeah, he's ready. I feel like Vince would like him too, because he's bigger too. He's not one of these other
honestly, it would make
guys.
sense for him to win the Rumble and keep him on a main roster for whatever belt he challenges for.
That'd be cool. That'd be really, really cool. Just a debut and win the Rumble. I like the
Didn't Brock do that basically? Or in like the same year he did that?
Pretty much, yeah. But now back to the action was great at the end of the day too. A lot of spots.
This match couldn't fail, honestly.
No,
all the names that were in it, like, it was going to be good.
And it woke up the crowd too, so that was the best
finally
part
2.5 hours in.
Yeah, but Cross won. Finn Balor didn't show up.
I don't know where they go at this point.
Yeah, but Finn didn't show up. No Demon, no normal Finn. No one debuted. No one returned. No nothing. Just Cross wins, and then
end the show.
And then it cuts to William Regal backstage, who
with
looks
a tear in his eyes.
With a tear,
he did have a few tears coming down. So I gotta wonder if that was real or acting.
Who looked very, very distraught, very, very distraught because of all the nonsense that's been going on the last couple weeks, and still nonsense going on during the show of backstage fighting between Raquel, Dakota.
Yeah, there were like 4 different segments of people just going at each other throughout the whole show.
And that's what was going on like last Wednesday in NXT too. And then as I think Mackenzie Mitchell was following him out the arena, he's like, I can't do this anymore. There needs to be a change. And then he just drifts out into the darkness, basically. And I want to get your opinions and thought of what's this change
so I took it as he was going to be stepping down as GM and a new person was going to be taking over, because his quote was like, after, of the 7 years of running NXT as general manager, there's never been this much mayhem, basically paraphrasing it. You took it as he might be bringing in an enforcer to kind of keep people in check.
Yeah.
So we're kind of on opposite ends at that point. I think he would be leaving.
It's opposite, but it's also similar at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, I feel like he is gonna bring someone in. Could be an enforcer, could be to take his job. So he's bringing someone in somewhere. And let's just get the rumor out of the way. The
It's
rumor
Samoa
right
Joe.
now, it's Samoa Joe. It's most likely Samoa Joe. The PW Insider reported that he's apparently back with the company.
And they're pretty reliable for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. Shouldn't have been released at all to begin with, probably.
Unless they decided to cut him from his talent contract and just bring him back as, on air rather than in ring, which very well could have been the case.
That could be.
But you would have thought they would have restructured it to prior to. Yeah. But also they had the 90-day non-compete clause, so they have a buffer to work things out.
See, I don't think this lasts long, though, with Samoa Joe, because I'm going to do a little long-term booking here, and I think things are going to get even worse with Samoa Joe under control and all of that, and things get even crazier, and then somehow he's going to wind up in a championship match with Cross. I feel
that would be awesome.
At the SummerSlam takeover, or even the Survivor Series takeover.
That would be fantastic.
And then I think Regal just wants a little bit of a break, and I think he's just going to be like, I can't do this, and Regal's just going to come back, or maybe he brings in like Daniel Bryan to be a general manager or something, because Bryan's been gone too for a little bit. But I think this does lead to Joe having like one last
run.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's going to win. Probably not going to.
And it would make sense to do it in NXT, because if we're being honest, that's where he was his best when his WWE stint.
Yeah, no, for sure. 2-time champion, I think he was in NXT. The matches with Finn Balor.
He debuted at a takeover, so if his last match would be at a takeover, I think that would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been released at all to begin with.
No.
He did the commentary in the rain for them the day or two before.
He got fired that Monday.
Yeah.
Because that's when they had Verk come in right afterwards.
Verk.
Hey, now we're in the Jimmy Smith era.
Hey, he's good.
Yeah, because he's called combat sports before.
Yeah, and then Verk just does baseball. But no, I think the consensus here is that it's gonna be Samoa Joe. Cool. If it's not,
I'm glad to have him back, and I hope it leads to a match, because they've hinted at him having a match when he was on commentary multiple times. So I like to finally see that pay off and get one more Joe match, because I don't even know what happened. He was just here one day, gone the next, basically, and the injury just kind of sidelined him. Like, I don't even remember his last match was, if it was on TV or a pay-per-view.
I have no idea.
Exactly.
No idea. But if that's the case, great. Looking forward to it. If it's not, we'll see what they do on Tuesday. Damn it. All right, but that I didn't even
wasn't it so nice that we could bounce back and forth and not always have to go to Jesse to start things, because he won this pay-per-view again.
I know. I was just gonna talk about that right now. I forgot to bring that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
he's not here.
He's not, but he won the pay-per-view. He now leads the whole year so far. 9. He has 9. I have 5. You have 2.
He's like Brock Lesnar. He wins and he's not here.
Jesse also had a perfect card. Thank God he's not here.
Oh, is that the first time any of us have done that?
No, Jesse and I both had one for the Rumble, a perfect card. So he gets plus 3 extra points for his total match points, whatever. We each got one wrong. That's not bad. We each got only one wrong.
That's great by my standards.
I know. And then that's what I somewhat usually do. I usually go one under Jesse always, and that's what happened
I'm usually
again.
In the basement.
I know. I would have loved if you and Jesse tied at least something.
Oh, God.
I know. But
it didn't happen.
No. So our total points, which is even funnier now, because Jesse got the plus 3 for the perfect card, is he has 51. I have 43.
Okay.
You have 36. And that's total correct matches of the year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's brutal. And just before we wrap this up, give me a rating out of 10 for this pay-per-view.
The show, all the matches were good. There really wasn't a bad match, if we're being quite honest. Ring wise, they were all good matches. The pay-per-view, the main event, very good. But for me, the biggest detractor of it was the lack of energy from the crowd. And now I know it shouldn't necessarily impact the show, but it did. Honestly, at some points, it just took away from it. It felt like WrestleMania the first time when we were in the Performance Center, and there was just a lot of man moaning at that point. So, with that, I'm going to give it about a 7.
Yeah, I was thinking a 7 too. I would have given it an 8, but I have to take away from the crowd too. Like, if that's just 1 point down, I give it a 7 too. Action was good. Storylines, everything.
Good. No, it was a good pay-per-view. It was a good show.
Yeah, just crowd killed it and -1 point for that. But that does it for this episode of the Sports Department Podcast. Thank you guys for listening so much. We appreciate it. Jesse, Joe, and Steve appreciate it as well. Make sure you guys follow us on our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sports Depth Pod. That's Sports DEPT Pod. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We're gonna have some more
We're gonna do a
podcasts
baseball
coming
one,
up.
I think.
Yeah, it's time.
Sometime
baseball
this week.
one.
Yeah, we'll do a baseball one.
Second round's almost wrapping up, so we'll do another basketball one.
For the Suns.
I know.
They're
Sweet.
awesome.
And now the Nets aren't looking too hot now.
I think they're going to the finals.
I hope they do, and I hope they win. And the
CP3 deserves a ring.
He does. And the Nets aren't looking too hot now with their injuries. And
Kimmy and Jesse's not here.
And Jesse's not here to rebuttal it and probably crap at the refs for not calling fouls. But hey, that's life. The Heat had injuries in their finals last year. Now the Nets have them in this round. Sucks to suck. Podcast coming on baseball, basketball, hockey, maybe football. So stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.